Hello, everyone. This is Peter Desmond Kelly, host of Peter the Healer, your celestial broadcaster, the place for great interviews where I ask the questions nobody else does. And today we have two specialists that I think are very appropriate for this time that we are in, facing a lot of stress and anxiety and problems with our immune system, all related. um, Basically, we're looking at two people that can help you if you're suffering from poor sleep, stress, anxiety. Chris Burres and Patrick Wanis have solutions for these compromising issues, helping you sleep deeply and strengthening your immunity. An astonishing Nobel-Prize-winning molecule provides these newfound results and hints at even greater possibilities. Renowned human behavior expert Patrick Wanis, PhD, and researcher Chris Burres have teamed up to help end this stress cycle and restore your natural sleep cycle. And what you can get if you hang on and watch this right till the end, you're going to get to two freebies that are being offered. One is a meditation to help you to relax, and another one is a audiobook that tells you all the different things that you can do to help you survive and excel in a time of great stress that we're now facing with the COVID-19 pandemic. So hang on, tune in. We'll be back in a few minutes to meet our guests.
Hello.
Hi.
Is this Peter the Healer?
Yes. No, actually, I'm the audio engineer for the show, Peter the Healer, your celestial broadcaster.
Where is Peter the Healer?
That's a good question. I really don't know. I've been trying for the last 10 minutes trying to reach him, but he's not answering.
Have you tried tuning into 528 Hertz, the love frequency?
No, that's a good idea. I'll give it a try. Let's see what happens. Hey, you know what? I think I'm getting some
Radio Noise.
Rádio Noise 592,
Anybody out there?
DJ e produtor brasileiro Rod Novaes.
Welcome back. This is Peter Desmond Kelly, the host of Peter the Healer, your celestial broadcaster, the place for great interviews, where I have great questions that nobody else does. Just to introduce our two guests, we start with Patrick Wanis, PhD, who has appeared on such networks as CNN, BBC, Fox News, MSNBC, and is recognized for his subconscious rapid transformation technique, offers an 8-part system that directly reduces stress levels, providing an empowering approach to establishing renewed balance despite the external consequences. Patrick's system specifically addresses each of the 8 critical emotions that are impacting people right now with this pandemic. And joining Patrick, we have researcher, not Patrick, I'm looking for him now. What is it? Chris, he will speak about the fascinating story behind ESS60's discovery and how this Nobel Prize-winning molecule that supports the immune system is transforming the way people live and potentially give them a future never before imagined. Please welcome Chris Burres and Patrick Wanis, who are here to join us right now. Here we go. Joining us in a few seconds. There we are. Connecting. Do we have connection? Yes, it's sometimes difficult from my spaceship to connect to the earthly domain, but it is certainly in the 3-dimensional domain that we're having problems. Hello, Chris. Can you hear
Hello.
me?
Yes, I can, Peter. How are you doing?
Great. You?
I am
And
doing
which
wonderful.
part of the
Thank you.
planet are you residing in right now?
I am in Houston.
Houston, Texas. Well, welcome aboard. And now I see Patrick Wanis. I'm sure I'm saying that's wrong. Is it Wanis or Wanis? PhD.
You're muted, Patrick.
Okay, I'll try to see if I
That's
can.
literally
There
the
you
first time
go.
I've ever called you Pat. That's kind of weird.
Well, I mean, this must be significant in some way or another. I don't know how. We haven't found out yet. So you guys have developed a model based on a Nobel-Prize-winning molecule. Perhaps you can let us know what is that all about? When was this molecule discovered? And how is it making our lives better?
Absolutely. Just first, I want to share. Well, thank you, Peter, for having us. And I want to share that we'd like to share a couple of things with you. Patrick's put together an audiobook that we have a link for your audience, and we'll give that away for free. I'd like to share some tips for getting better sleep, and then I'm happy to dive right in. I've been manufacturing a molecule. We call it ESS60. It was discovered in 1985 at Rice University, also here in Houston, Texas. And the three professors who discovered it actually went on to win the Nobel Prize for that discovery. So it's a pretty amazing molecule. It's superconducting. It's harder than a diamond. It'll actually turn into a diamond. It really performs as well or better than the current best material in almost every application. So not surprising that those three professors won that Nobel Prize in such a short time. The reason I'm kind of here talking to you about that molecule is people have started taking it as a supplement. So in 2012, they did actually a toxicity study. They thought the molecule, for various reasons, would be toxic. So they, in this study, gave one set of rats water, the control group, obviously, one set of rats olive oil, and then one set of rats olive oil with ESS60. And those rats, instead of being toxic, those rats given the olive oil with ESS60, which really is the MyVitalC formulation, they actually lived 90% longer than the control group. Now, that may sound fantastic and way out there because it is. It's actually the single longest longevity experiment on mammals known to man. I'm a scientist, so of course it's peer-reviewed, published research. And the next best way to live longer is actually to I call it the starve yourself 1/3 to death diet, and you can extend your life by 30%. So calorie restriction can actually extend your life. So moving on past the publication of that amazing research, really in late 2017, one guy got on YouTube and started, with a huge following, got on and started talking about all the benefits he was receiving. And really in 2018, we said, let's bring this product to market because so many people are reporting so many great things. And the thing that kind of ties this all together with what Patrick will share with sleep tips and all this is that those customers who take MyVitalC, their most consistent testimonial is that they have mental focus. They take it in the morning. They have mental focus and energy during the day, and then actually sleep better that night, which is in stark contrast to everything else that's actually on the market.
Wow, that sounds like almost like a magical pill that can fix everything. I mean, what else does it do? Does it help you with conditions like blood pressure? Okay, so diabetes?
We do have to be careful, right? We're in the United States, FDA, so the product hasn't been assessed by the FDA. It's not intended to treat, diagnose, cure, or prevent any disease. Anything that I would share with you is going to be along the lines of a testimonial. I only share testimonials that either I've had direct conversations with the people or we actually have a documentation path to get back to those people, because I think anything else. And also the kind of person who looks very much for binary data. I can talk about my experience. I actually played soccer for 25 years. I had knee pain in my left knee, really at the top of my left knee. I started taking the product consistently, daily, consistently in the beginning of 2018. and within a month that pain was gone, is still gone. I also have noticed the impact on my sleep, and I tend to be a good sleeper anyway. What I've noticed is when I'm about to go to sleep, you know how your mind is racing when sometimes, not all the time, when you're about to go to sleep, and actually that's kind of now it's probably racing all the time, and you're maybe it happens to you all the time. When I've been on My Vital C, I've noticed that my brain can be firing and thinking, and everything's really active, and I'm even debating, like, should I go to sleep or should I, get another hour of work done or whatever. But when my head hits the pillow, I'm just out, right? So before, that was a situation that would have kept me up. And now I'm just out. The other thing is I used to get 4 or 5 migraines a year. I'm a geeky scientist, so I actually have a spreadsheet of every migraine I've had since 2014. As I mentioned, I started taking the product consistently in 2018. Didn't get a single migraine in 2018. You couple that with my wife, who got 9+ migraines per month. She actually, I always say 9+ because she actually has a medication that's so strong they'll only give her 9 per month, and she would use those and then have some more migraines that she had to suffer through. Since she's been taking the product, she's down to 1 or 2 migraines per month, and doesn't even use the medication anymore when those migraines happen. So those are some of the testimonials. So it helps with knee pain, back pain. Those are things that we consistently get testimonials. I personally believe, and I'll talk a little bit about kind of people share mental health adjustments. I think it's related to better sleep, because we all know if you get better sleep, you're better off mentally, physically, and emotionally. So we get people who report, one of the testimonials I had from one of the persons that we kind of engaged in a trial, she said, her quote was, "I have a longer fuse with my children," right? So that speaks of, being calmer, being more patient. Incidentally, that particular person was in the middle of quitting smoking while trying our product. And when I first found that out, I was like, okay, she shouldn't be trying our product and quitting smoking at the first time. Basically, the results will be horrible. And actually the results were very good. So that's a surprise. So again, if you're sleeping better, you got better mental, physical, and emotional well-being. And that can be applied to all the testimonials that we're getting about the product.
Very interesting. Thank you for that. And Patrick Wanis, is it Wanis or Wanis?
Wanis. Do you want us or don't you want us?
Wanis. And did you know that Chris just called you Pat? I don't know if you heard that before, but he did at the beginning of the show while you were connecting.
Should I be shocked?
Pat, and we were wondering.
I was a little shocked. Whether that was. I've literally never called him that.
Many amazing things happen on my show. Every time something happens, and you guys, I'm gonna highlight your 2 gifts that you're giving people back on the backdrop. I have something already set up for you guys near the end of the show. But by the way, we've only got 40 minutes, just to let you know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Zoom has restricted our time. But Patrick Wanis, PhD, I'm presuming that's in behavior psychology?
Yeah, health psychology.
Health psychology, okay. I'm also a former psychology, I'm retired. So go ahead, this is up my line, my area.
Well, I don't know if you've had a chance to actually access the audiobook that I created and recorded. So did you have a chance to listen to it?
Excellent, yes, very relaxing, incredible, loved it.
So yes, so I actually, as you know, I put together 2 products. One was a guided meditation to overcome fear and anxiety, to feel resilient, to feel secure and confident, using imagery and music. And then the other one was the audiobook, Neutralize the 7 Emotions That Are Holding You Hostage Right Now. And did you get a chance to listen to that as well?
I did. I didn't listen to the entire audiobook, but what I read, or listened to, I should say, was really, really informative. I understood how important it is to look at stress, anxiety, and the immune system as all being interrelated.
Yeah, so our thoughts create our emotions, and our thoughts and emotions together also impact our nervous system. They can take you from the sympathetic nervous system, from the parasympathetic nervous system into the sympathetic nervous system. That means that you're either in a state of what we refer to as rest and digest, which is the restorative process, or you're in the fight, flight, or freeze response, which then engages your sympathetic nervous system. And you're literally just in that moment when you're experiencing that, your only brain's intention is to keep you alive by either fighting the danger, fighting the perceived threat, or running from the perceived threat. At that very moment, your immune system is suppressed. Your body releases various chemicals to deaden the pain so you can keep running and fighting. And it also stops your digestive process. So just that alone, recognizing that many of us are in a constant hyper-arousal state, or a state of hyper-arousal, that we constantly keep going into the fight or flight response, even if it's not at 100%, what we also refer to as the amygdala hijack. The more that your body is going into that state, your body's releasing certain chemicals designed for stress, and that means elevated cortisol levels, but your blood pressure's increasing, your heart's racing faster, and most of the heart extends to the limbs and the hands so you can fight or run. And when you stop and think about that, it's not that your body's out of balance. It's that when your body's staying in this alarm state for so long, then yes, your body goes out of balance. So again, we have this beautiful capability of responding to a threat. But when we perceive everything happening in our life, whether it's someone in a car who's just jumped in front of us, or whether it's a comment from the boss, or whether it's what we're experiencing right now with COVID-19, if we react to certain conditions, that we can't leave, or we must wear masks, or we must do this, or we must do that, the way that we respond to everything, being stuck at home, quarantined, isolated, locked down, the way that we respond to that will also affect our body and our immune system. Chris was talking about sleep. You started talking about sleep, and the link between sleep and immunity is also very important, because our endocrine system is also linked to our immunity. And if you're not sleeping, then your immune system is also lowered. So during sleep, our body's engaging our immune system, and it's also restoring our immune system. So again, if you look here very carefully, everything is interlinked, and one thing affects another. Our thoughts affect our emotions affect our behavior, they affect our endocrine system, our digestion, then they affect our sleep, and then when we don't sleep properly, we can't deal with the very challenges that we're faced with on a regular basis, and even more so today. And Chris has a term for this, the idea of, we've got stress during the day, it prevents us from sleeping, and then when we can't sleep, we can't deal with the stress the next day. And Chris has an interesting term for that.
It's the horrible emotional sleep spiral.
Mm.
So
very scientific.
Which may be why Patrick hasn't adopted it as readily as I.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to know, I've already established where Chris is hiding out on the Earth. I'm up here in space, in my spacecraft. So that's why the name's Peter the Healer, your celestial broadcaster. So I'm observing all the things that are going on down there on Earth. So I'm seeing Chris Burres. Hey, I see you. Shine a light. And Patrick Wanis, where are you? I detect, tell me if I'm wrong, somewhere in the Southern Hemisphere, Australia?
Well, perhaps that's my heart and spirit that's in the Southern Hemisphere, as well as my accent, or part of my heart and spirit. When I'm not in the Southern Hemisphere, I'm definitely somewhere in the South, where I am reflecting to you lots of light, often referred to by the Spanish as Miami or Miami.
Miami. Okay. That's why you have this lovely tan.
From being out in the sun, correct?
Yeah.
So it's
I hope you're wearing a mask.
Oh, I do. Well, not inside the apartment, but yes, when I'm outside, I do what I'm supposed to do.
We're going to start having tan lines from the mask if you're not careful.
It's true.
So
There was
where
just
did you guys meet? How did this all start? Your duo.
Chris?
Yeah, so we met in Houston. Patrick was actually in Houston for a number of years. We met actually on a Halloween, and really he befriended some of the friends in my group.
A
And then
Halloween
ultimately
party?
at a Halloween party, yes.
You were all dressed up?
We were all dressed up.
Wow.
I don't remember what I was, but I do remember what Patrick was, and for a very specific reason, because you've seen the movie The Mask with Jim Carrey, right?
Oh, yes.
So my group of friends were looking down on the dance stage, and there's a guy who isn't dressed like the mask. He actually is the mask, like in the way that he carried himself, the way that he was dancing, and that turned out to be Patrick. It turns out he's an incredibly good dancer and has done dance entertainment, and so like that explains why it was so clear that he was the mask. He befriended some of my friends, and then we kind of reconnected at another occasion, and then we've just stayed friends because really our fundamental principles and how we treat people and how we live our life, both business and personally, are so in sync. It just like we just keep being great friends and having a great time together and working very hard to deliver a lot of value to people.
Well, that's really very interesting. And had I known this backstory, I would have asked you to dress up for the interview. I mean, wow.
That's why we didn't tell you.
Maybe another time we'll do it costume. Of course, I don't know if you're aware, but I'm telecasting not only from my spaceship, but via a transmission through Montreal. Montreal, Canada, and Quebec, and I'm just north of there. And we have our own little, so there is really a spaceship and a complex where people can go up and experience weightlessness, just not a block away from where I am. So it's all being
cool.
not where I am, but the transmission goes through there. But so Patrick, so you're competing with I have a fellow Canadian here, Jim Carrey. Does he know about this?
I'll tell you this story very briefly, but I did used to perform the show, and I actually had talks with, I'm trying to remember which, there was the company that owned the rights to Jim Carrey's The Mask. It's The Mask as done by Jim Carrey. I don't remember what, it was Inline Media or something, and at the time I actually was having discussions with him to create a variety talk show, a musical variety talk show based around the character. So the idea is instead of having, a Letterman, a Leno, a Steve Colbert hosting a show, you'd have the character Jim Carrey hosting the show. So anyway, yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. But it's interesting because having lived in various places around the world, I encountered many different cultures. And by encountering many different cultures, I was able to say, well, what do people have in common? And what is it that people are really looking for? And what are the challenges that people face? And we still come down to the same basic needs. Even if we talk about Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we all have the very foundation of needing, food, water, shelter to survive. But then what else do we need? And we need meaning, and we need purpose. We need communication. We need connection. We need to have a sense of community, a sense of belonging, etc. And when the pandemic broke out, all of our needs started to sort of crumble in the sense of we lost connection, we lost community, we started moving into a place of fear, we started worrying about food, water, shelter, and survival. The whole reason that people started hoarding toilet paper and masks and sanitizer right at the beginning was because of the fear of death, the fear of dying. It was in response to this anxiety. And so we recognized our greatest need is first, of course, to feel safe. And when we're all affected by this, and I'm sure you know this through your audience and through the work you do in helping people, that we're all impacted emotionally, that there were people feeling and experiencing extraordinary fear and anxiety, sadness, sorrow, and grief. Many people were going into states of rumination and depression. Other people started shifting towards anger because people didn't want to be locked down. One of my best friends in Spain went almost completely nuts, saying, I don't want to be locked in here. I want to be free. And he's a guy that is like a dolphin. He's in the water every day. He's surfing. So each one of us was affected, and many of us actually lost many freedoms. And my point is that when we started seeing how many people were suffering, that's when Chris and I talked about how can we actually help other people? What can you and I do that will help people through this crisis? And what principles can we share, can we teach that will help them through the crisis and beyond? And that's why Chris talked about his product, My Vital C, in terms of helping people to sleep, boosting immunity, helping with antioxidation, anti-inflammation, antibacterial properties, etc. And then I said, well, let me talk about the emotional component. Let's talk about the way that our thoughts affect our emotions and how that impacts our body. Because I know Chris said it to me, and this is what was the starting point, when he talked about feeling tired. And I said, we're all feeling tired, we're all feeling heavy because we're actually grieving. When there was this sudden change, when everything just dramatically stopped and ended. So grief is our response to either loss or a change, a dramatic change. Think about it when you finish, if we're in Australia, we talk about primary school, then we go to high school. America's system is a little more complicated, but every time you finish one grade and you're going to go to the next grade, or when you finish that school, you go to another school, or when you graduate college, there's a sense of excitement, but there's also a sense of grief. When you leave behind a home and you move to a new home, even if you're excited about the new home, you still have a sense of sadness and grief. So the dramatic change triggered all this grief in us. Then there was the fear and anxiety, because we said the level of uncertainty has dramatically risen. We've always had some level of uncertainty in life. Life is full of uncertainty. But then we didn't know, are we ever going to go back to work? Will our life ever be normal again? Will we have to wear masks forever, et cetera, et cetera? So then Chris and I said, well, look, let's do something to help people. If I can help people through, I'll create a guided meditation. I'll create an audio book to deal with the emotions. And then Chris will talk about his product, and that way we could help people in a more holistic approach. So that guided meditation you listen to and the audiobook were created specifically in response to the pandemic. And that was the intention of why we're on your show.
And I'm very grateful, as I'm sure the audience will be very grateful, to have these free downloads. I'm just going to see if I can put them back in the background here.
And we're not asking for email addresses or names. You just go to this page and you can immediately download it. You can listen to it there, or you can save it to whatever device you're listening to. So that's the book, Neutralize the 7 Emotions That Are Holding You Hostage Right Now. And I don't know, Chris, do you know what the link is for this free?
Yes. Yeah, that link to get that audio book for free is myvitalc.com /Peter the Healer. And that'll get you to that. Again, there's no requirement for email. It's absolutely free. You want to give this to your audience and hopefully provide some value. And when it comes to sleep, probably significant value to your audience.
And I think, Peter, you'll appreciate this too, particularly when you get to complete listening to the entire audiobook, that throughout the book, I offer action steps on, okay, if you're experiencing sadness, number one, be okay with the experience. Identify that you're experiencing sadness. So I teach to all of my clients, and even in workshops for corporations, it's okay to feel what you feel. You're allowed to feel whatever you feel, and whatever you feel is important and does make a difference. Now the question is, what function is this emotion fulfilling? What's causing the emotion? If it's sadness, we know that sadness is triggered by a sense of loss. You've lost something you had or something you thought you were going to have. Imagine for all the school children who were looking forward to graduation, and then suddenly that's ended. So there was sadness there because they said, I'm not going to get to have a real graduation. It's going to be online. That's not the same as everyone, wearing the customary outfit and, the gowns and being done in a ceremony, etc., in front of everyone. Suddenly it's, I'm here and you're 100 miles away. So that sadness is triggered by a sense of loss, something you had or something you thought you were going to have, something meaningful. And then once you've said, identified, okay, it's sadness, it's okay to feel sad. I know now why I'm feeling sad because I believe I've lost all these things. You write out what all the things you've lost. So you get clear about the full list of things you've lost. And then you say, what do I do now? What can I control? What can't I control? And then from there, I actually, when I did the exercise myself, I wrote out each of the things that I lost and why they were important to me and what they represented and how they tied into my values in life. Then I wrote out a list of what I'm left with. Okay, I've lost all these things, but what do I still have in my hands? What do I still have in my heart and in my body and in my mind and in my spirit? And then you tap into your psychological resources of hope, optimism, resiliency, and a belief in your own capabilities, self-efficacy. From there, I started to move to gratitude for the things that I still have, and also reevaluating the things that matter to me. And that simply is sitting down and saying, what's really important to me in life? What do I care about? What matters to me now? And it's interesting because I don't know if you've experienced this, Peter, because you're obviously, you're already living your purpose and mission. For the average person, though, when suddenly our 9-to-5 lifestyle ends and we're not going to concerts, we're not going to sporting events, and we can't visit friends, and we can't go shopping the way we did, you'd stop and ask yourself, now that I've been stripped of all these things, what am I left with and what really matters? And that's when you start to get clear about your core values. And for each of us, the core values are different, although I would argue that we all ultimately do have one necessary core value of connection, of relationship, of a sense of belonging. Without that sense of belonging, we lose a sense of significance. We lose a sense of purpose, because by belonging, we can contribute to other people. We can make a difference. We can feel part of. We can also feel safe. We can also feel like we're important and we're needed. So I was, in my audiobook, I teach, I think it's in the latter part of the book, I actually give the exercise of, writing out your values, and there's some steps to do that. So you get clear about, well, what are my values now? Because maybe your values have changed, or maybe you've become clearer now about what your real values are. Maybe you thought your values were material possessions and selfies and Instagram, and now you realize this stuff is meaningless. It doesn't make any difference to my life. I thought it did, and I thought it gave me pleasure, and maybe it gave you some pleasure, but it doesn't give meaning, fulfillment, or real joy. It's just moments of pleasure, and pleasure and joy are two different things. So by reevaluating who you are and what's important to you, you can put yourself back, not on the horse, but back on a path. Where am I going in my life? How do I want to spend the rest of my life? You also get very clear about what's really important. And I noticed you just put up on the screen my guided meditation, Overcome Fear and Anxiety.
I'm just going to put that up right now so people can see it. And what I like, if I may say something,
please.
What I did get from the audiobook, from what I've read, is that it's not static. It's not like something you're saying, okay, this is the way you should do it and never change. No, on the contrary, you're making it adapt to how people's lives change under different circumstances, different situations like we're facing now with the pandemic. And that to me is great. That's a sign of a great book that's adapting to people's needs, and they're free. It's free. So let's talk about the guided meditation.
So there is,
if I can, Patrick, it looks like we're down to about 4 minutes, and I just want to kind of cover, give that link again. It's myvitalseed.com/Peter the Healer. And when people go there, again, that audiobook, Neutralize the 7 Emotions That Are Holding You Hostage Now, and the guided meditation, Overcome Fear and Anxiety and Enjoy Peace of Mind. Again, absolutely free. No email is required. When you get to that page, there'll be 2 kind of main links that you can use. One will take you to Patrick's website, patrickwanis.com. I highly suggest and humbly suggest that you sign up for his newsletter. Of course, that will require an email because he's got to email it to you. But he gives away really valuable information each and every week in this newsletter. So I highly recommend that you sign up for that. Absolutely free. And then there's another link to the My Vital C homepage. And on the My Vital C homepage, you can see some of the products. If you're interested in trying that molecule, and if you're watching this, this is a picture of that molecule. Again, customers are taking it in the morning, reporting mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep that night. We know sleep helps you mentally, physically, and emotionally. I do recommend you could buy one bottle, or you can get 25% off on a subscription. So take advantage of that. You can cancel at any time. And also for your audience, Peter, we've created a $15 off coupon for their first purchase. They just use coupon code Peter the Healer, and that'll get them additional $15 off.
Excellent, Chris. Really appreciate your ability to look at the time clock. Fit things in there.
It's probably my greatest skill.
And but really, you know, to pack all of this information in just 40 minutes, it's amazing. And you also have, of course, the skills and education to present this to people so that they can understand. And believe you me, nowadays, people are looking for this format. They want things that are more simple, fine-tuned, not going to take forever. You've got a fantastic product, a pill that you just described, and you've got, you know, the pill which will work with the physiology component and the mental, and then we've got the psychological as well.
Yeah.
From Patrick. And so this is truly a holistic treatment that you're talking about. All elements are covered. So
just a note,
yes.
The My Vital C product is actually, it's this molecule, the ESS60 molecule, dissolved in olive oil. So it's not actually a pill. It's just a simple olive oil solution that you take that's been saturated with ESS60.
Great, great. So it'll be easier to digest, I assume.
Yes.
Great.
If you want to, just dip it in bread.
Yes, like the Italians do. They love everything in olive oil. It's fantastic. Okay, so I want to thank you too, Patrick Wanis and Chris Burres. You've been extremely educational, informative, also a bit of humor thrown in there. I just hope you guys will come back in your costumes. We love costumes up here in Montreal. It is famed for the love of dressing up in costumes. This is a great holiday, of course, it's Halloween, but they do it every Thursdays, of course. But let's say welcome to everyone to download these. I'm going to put the actual link at the end of this broadcast. It's going to be flashed right on there, and also at the bottom of each of these videos. They'll be at each of my different social media platforms. So thank you all, and we'll stay in touch, and I'll be watching you from way up there in the celestial realm.
Thank you, Peter.